Hey everybody, Jeff Schneider here. I got a quick question for you. Do you feel like your improvised solos lack the legitimacy of an authentic jazz solo? I know that's a heavy question, but if the answer is yes, then the 3 licks I'm about to show you will give you the lift you need for getting that classic jazz sound you've been after. It's a real shame that learning licks gets such a bad rap. A lot of people think improvising means spontaneously coming up with 100% original material that no one has ever heard before, each and every time you go to take a solo. I got good news, that's not how it works. Here's a helpful analogy. When you have a conversation with someone or give an off-the-cuff toast at a party, do you start speaking in some nonsensical gibberish language to avoid repeating an idea or phrase that might sound familiar to your audience? Of course not. You use the same words and syntax that have been around for hundreds of years. The same is true for music. Learn your letters, your notes, put them together to make words, your licks, and then string those words together to convey a message. That's your solo. Yes, there are cliches and idioms that may not be the most creative choice of words, but even a common phrase can be turned on its head, and the same is true in music. For example, here's a classic dominant 7 line often referred to as the David Baker bebop lick. Now, before we turn this thing on its head, let's look at why this combination of notes makes such a strong lick. First of all, important chord tones are emphasized right off the bat. The 1, which is G, and the flat 7, which is F, land on beats 1 and 2 respectively. Also, that F sharp on the and of 1 is a textbook example of a chromatic passing tone. It should look familiar if you know your dominant 7 bebop scale. We end the lick on yet another chord tone, the 5, which is D. And that's a satisfying way to resolve the line, especially since the second to last note is a more dissonant 6, the E. Now, is this detailed analysis necessary for you to start playing this lick in your solos? No, but the more you analyze music, the more you can learn from it and repurpose those lessons elsewhere. Anyway, a handful of snobby jazz musicians might write off the David Baker bebop lick as a cliche. So let's pump some new life into it. See what I did there? Same lick, a tritone away. Ever heard of tritone substitution in the context of reharmonization? Well, the same trick works well for single note lines. Now, I will say there's a dangerous amount of tension in this variation, which could result in a wonky sounding phrase if not resolved skillfully. But music is a high risk, high reward endeavor, so let's take a stab at making it work. Okay, that wasn't too hard. The truth is, you can get away with as much tension as you want as long as you resolve it well. In this example, I resolved the flat 9, which is A flat, down to the 1, which is G. These really dissonant notes can usually be resolved by going up or down a half step. Now let's try the same lick with another classic line. I call this the Donnelly Lick because it shows up in measure 3 of, you guessed it, Donnelly. Here's a quick analysis. You're going to arpeggiate up from the 3 to the 9. Now notice the shorthand. I'm not calling out each individual note, 3, 5, flat 7, 9. Because by grouping those 4 notes into a simple chunk, 3 up to 9, with that arpeggio, I make it easier to internalize and recall the information when I need it. We got 2 notes left, the 6, which is E, and the 5, which is D. Now look here, it's the same 2 notes at the end of the David Baker bebop lick. Now we're going to keep that in mind for later. So let's do the tritone thing. We're literally spelling out a D flat 9 chord, which is the tritone sub for G7. And again, because the end of the Donnelly lick is the same as the end of the David Baker bebop lick, we can resolve it the same way we did before. Or if you want something a little bit fancier, all right, 2 licks down, 1 to go. Now this last lick goes outside the box. We're going to use some alternate notes. You could also call them borrowed notes. Check this lick out. Now to me, this feels like the quintessential bebop lick. Are you guys digging the way those alternate notes inject additional tension into the already dissonant dominant chord? To chunk this lick, all we have to do is identify the implied scale, C harmonic minor. Technically, it's G mixolydian flat 2 flat 6, which is the 5th mode of the C harmonic minor scale. By the way, is it becoming clear that knowing your chord scales and arpeggios is essential for memorizing music? Later on in the video, I'm going to hook you up with something that's going to help you out considerably when it comes to memorizing and understanding chords, scales, and arpeggios. But let's get back to what we were talking about. Those super dissonant altered notes are offset by the much more harmonious flat 7, which is F, and 3, which is B, and both of those notes land on the strong beats, beats 1 and 3. Yeah, I know this is getting wordy and super technical, super nerdy, but I promise, the better you understand the music theory behind these licks, the easier it will be for you to memorize them and create variations, which will ultimately allow you to string together your favorite phrases and convey a personal, original message in every solo you improvise. So thanks for watching, guys. If you made it this far in the video, I'd like to offer you for free my chord scale charts called The Last Chord Scale Charts You'll Ever Need. They're the ultimate cheat codes for music theory and will make understanding scales, chords, and chord progressions so much easier. So go grab them now for free at the link, which is somewhere on the screen or down below in the video description. Hope you enjoy, and thanks for watching.